Hello everybody, it's Kate Plays and welcome to my channel. I am playing Planet Zoo today, as we can see here, and I thought that I would jump in with my first video on this channel with my very first Sandbox Zoo in Planet Zoo. So a little bit of background: I am a Sims fanatic. I have been playing since Sims 1. Currently still play Sims 2, Sims 3, and Sims 4, and Astroneer. And I found this game on Steam Workshop about a month ago, or on Steam Shop about a month ago, and got it and all of its DLC on sale and haven't looked back. I am completely obsessed. So what I thought I would do is practice my screen recording and give us a little tour of my first ever Sandbox Zoo in Planet Zoo. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and we'll see how this goes. So tell me how long you've been playing Planet Zoo, what you love about Planet Zoo, your favorite parts in the comments below, and welcome to my channel. Thank you very much. So, Alright, so here is my first ever Sandbox Zoo. I'm going to go ahead and pause my game just because I haven't set up work zones for some exhibits yet because we've been in construction. So here is the entrance of my first ever Sandbox Zoo. So this is the first beginnings of my first ever try at really building in Planet Zoo, and I am just getting started. So please leave your tips, tricks, best YouTubers, and how you love to play in the comments to spark your girls' creativity. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So this is the entrance to the zoo. You'll see that I made a pretty big sign. The name originally was Zoological Guadalajara. The name is not going to stay that. So we have a sneak preview of our custom sign made back there, which is going to change the name, change the game of my zoo. So here's the entrance that I built out of temple pieces. And oops, sorry there. And I got these little Jeeps off of the Steam Workshop. I thought they were really, really cute. They have little steam that happens when you got the game playing, and they're just really adorable. I really enjoy them. And I did not create those, so Steam Workshop all the way. And so from here we have the entrance. My first endeavor was to kind of build my own custom entrance, and we'll talk about the goods, the bads, what I would do differently, what I might change as we get there. But first, over to the Great Waterfall. So this was something I really wanted to build, and let's not pay attention to the fact that it just completely comes out of nowhere. We'll have to do something about that. But this waterfall is, I think, beautiful. I really, really enjoy how that came out. And this feeds the river of or part of the river, one of our feeding rivers for the Rainforest Conservatory we have here in South America. So I had a lot of inspiration from YouTube videos on an entrance that looked like people could drive up. So I've put the guest spawners kind of right here, and it looks as if people spawn up out of this little parking lot entrance made from temple ruins. I put these glass beams kind of like glass and beams to maybe look like they've been repurposed into this zoo temple ruins in South America. So this really great map. I really love this map. This is the first Sandbox Zoo map I ever loaded with the rivers down here, which I'm going to talk about this construction zone in a minute. And so, yeah, that's the goal of this. I would like to potentially finish out the lines, hide the fact that this looks like coming out of nowhere, even though I want this to be the main water source of the Rainforest Conservatory. So in my mind, potentially the zoo like just pumps this water up here to feed these little rivers here. Um, I'd like to potentially finish out the lines, cover this up, and make this look like an actual parking lot. I've seen those in some YouTube inspiration videos, and I'm obsessed with it looking like an actual parking lot, so I thought that would be adorable. So we're going to change the name. It's no longer going to be called Zoological Guadalajara. It's going to be called the Guadalajara Rainforest Conservatory, and the only animals in here will be of the rainforest biome area. So I'm really excited, but let's talk about the great things and the pitfalls of this. So I really like the temple pieces and the way I made the temple pieces look here and kind of look like a reclaimed temple entrance. The orangutan is the first exhibit, so I love this. We're going to change this because we're not going to have a giant panda in our zoo here. So we won't have that, but the orangutan is the first exhibit. I thought that would be very fitting. So right when we walk in, the first good things and bad things. I really loved this entrance with the, area up there for the looking at the sky and the temple. I think that it's just a really beautiful area up there. And I think it's really cool that I made some like fake ticket booths that I knew wouldn't work because they're out, they don't get tickets. They're info booths, but I did not, this being my first Sandbox Zoo and all, did not think about them being prior to the entrance, them not really doing anything. Not that I use money in the zoo, so, it's not really a big impact, but functionality wise in like a franchise or something, these aren't making any money because they're outside of the entrance and guests don't really use them, so maybe rethink. So first, the bad thing about the entrance that I don't like. Second thing is it's a little congested. I wish I would have maybe opened up this path to like, the way I constructed this was not the best, but I needed just the two entrances, so I could rethink this. Maybe add a couple more to extend this, make it a little bit more flow-wise. Next, cool thing, what I thought was ingenious, which ended up not really working, is I thought that hiding a staff area underneath us here, which we'll look at, with this cool side pathway would be really cool because the guests, walk through here and they're none the wiser that there's a staff zone right underneath them. But that didn't work, as we'll see, and they actually still notice it. So I've turned off the impact settings in the Sandbox Zoo settings to kind of turn off my guess impact with a couple of different items here. So negative effect on facilities, it turned that off. Yeah, a couple pocket things. Yeah, so I've unturned some of those items. So we'll talk about that in a second. But so walking into the zoo, I really love this sign. I've been watching custom billboards, and this is a billboard with a custom sign made with some lamp posts. It glows at night. It's really great. We're called now the Guadalajara Rainforest Conservatory. I made that on Canva. That's going to be our logo. Here's that staff path, which I'd like it to eventually say staff right there. I'm probably just going to leave the staff's area down there and settings enabled for my Sandbox Zoo and learn for future experiences and rather than change everything around. But we'll see. We'll get opinions from you all as well. Let me know in the comments. So when you walk into the conservatory, here is the first peek at the first exhibit. And the first area that we've built in the zoo that's officially underway is the primate islands. And as of right now, this consists of orangutans, lar gibbons, and the saimang. And there'll be more monkeys to come there. So looking over at the exhibit, this river or waterfall feeds the first island, which this river kind of pulls up right here and goes around and feeds these other two islands for the other exhibits. We have the orangutans in this front habitat with a really cool little viewing area and a pool or climbing area over the pool, a climbing area over here, and a foraging feed, a real nice habitat we'll go take a look at over there. and some climbing and just a whole river with a really cool little vibe over here. So we walk up, we have the vista point for the guests. They get to come and check it out. I thought about having an animal talk here, but thinking potentially over there because I don't want the build up to be too high. There's already not enough pathing here for the guests at the entrance, even with a limit of 500. And here's the second path, which goes around the other part of the island, which we will get to. That waterfall I talked about over there. It's real great. We've got some orangutans messing around over there. I really want that to stop pinging me right now, so whatever. But you see the orangutans having fun over there. We got a little juvenile. We've got some Bornean orangutans over here, which really love their area. So from there, my potential plan for the guests is to go ahead and walk around this area here and come on down to this path, which will lead them down to the further area. Nice look out over the orangutan island as we move forward here. And this is the next area of the zoo with another path down to the staff entrance, which we'll go look at right now. We have some more staff areas off in the distance with a little cafe. This is going to be our sloth walkthrough exhibit and then our second exhibit for the orangutan. So before we dive into that, let's go take a look at my creative genius, or I thought it was what I thought was creative genius at the time, which is very wrong of me to have believed that this was creative genius. But here is the underground staff area, which was supposed to be hidden away from the guests with low negative impact, built in the temple ruins with the pathway overhead. This here houses a workshop, which we don't necessarily need in retrospect, a keeper hut, or at least in the sandbox mode we don't. A keeper hut, a trade center. We also have a vet surgery and a staff room. I put in a nice little seating area with some foliage back here in the corner and a nice little foliage area, keeping it nice and hidden from the guests with the seating area for our staff members who walk right through the foliage we've put in the middle here because they're superhuman. So from here, let's take a look at the rest of the built pavilion and talk about the plan for the future of the zoo. So let's go ahead and get rid of our staff entrance and just continue to look. Why don't you even we get rid of all of the facilities, make it nice. So let's go ahead and first take a look over here before we dive in further. So this is going to be called the Temple Ruin Cafe, and I think I'm going to put a little sign over here that kind of points and really fill this in with greenery. You got a nice look of the sloth house from here. And then this cafe right now is very simple. I might jazz it up a little bit. I made a nice canopy. I even, wrong way, getting used to the camera most effectively. I even hooked them in with little like brackets that looked like it actually would be hooked in here with these patterns. We've got a couple drink shops and a hot dog stand just for the beginning. I want to do a cafe, like the Guadalajara Rainforest Cafe. I don't want to steal Rainforest Cafes. Obviously, we're not trademarking any of this, So this path walks out, little pond, hides this ugly staff area that we have over here. I just placed blueprints just to get some staff area down and the Indonesian, vibe that I was feeling over here, but this is in no way what's going to stay over there in the park. That was just needed quick staffing area for what I was doing. So let's go ahead and finish out the orangutan area before we pop into the sloth house. So the orangutan is going to be a part of the first set of habitats in the zoo called the Primate Islands, and that's going to be down this walkway here and over this walkway here. Starts with Orangutan Island, goes to Largibbon and Simang Island, and eventually we will have proboscis monkeys, mandrills, and capuchins all over around this, and this whole area will be the Primate Islands. And so this right here is our education board made very simply with some African shade posts that aren't really intended for that, but who cares, right? That's what Planet Zoo is all about. So this is what our educational boards are going to look like, potentially looking into making custom ones from Zed Plays, ZH Plays, ZSH Plays. I don't know. I watch his YouTubes a lot. Really love him. Love Tecton Zoo. Learning a lot from him. Delay Designer, Atom Up. Great YouTubers. Take a look at them all. But this is the viewing area, glass viewing area, a little bit more eye level. With the orangutans, you can see them if they're playing up there. Tried to encourage them with a box. They come off and knock it off often, so that you can kind of get a closer eye level. Um, and then this is the staff path kind of covered back into the orangutan habitat. And if you check out right here, I have made a little sign that's going to point to the sloth house as well, with some of the sign centers that point you towards the primate islands or the entrance. And here is your beautiful entrance to the primate islands, made with a blueprint from the Planet Zoo in a quick sign that I threw together. So the guests come through here and got some seating area, nice hidden staff path. And then they can come over here and get a nice private little view of the area within. You'll see I've got my little chimp in here and my female up in here. And this is their little sleeping area. Lots of enrichment in here. I built this dome. You'll see it's definitely not perfect by any means in here. This dome is not perfect, with some one-way glass and a little habitat cam to kind of keep them enriched. I know they have water, but here's another water pipe. Just look at our little baby, so cute. And yeah, so that is the rest of the orangutan habitat here. You'll see to be made over there. Let's go check out the sloth house. All right, so here's the sloth habitat. I absolutely loved this blueprint that was in the set of blueprints in Planet Zoo, and I just was like figuring out how I could use it in my zoo, and I was like, you know what, I want to use those walkthrough habitats. So this is the sloth habitat that I made that features that really lovely archway that Planet Zoo was so grateful to create for us. So let's go ahead and take a look-see inside. I've fitted it with some mesh parts here to replicate that they couldn't get out, and at the bottom and then glass to kind of keep in humidity, as you would think. I know they don't have a humidity requirement, but you know, we can pretend. So here's the entrance. I left again, for sake of a little bit of realism, you know, a little airlock-ish kind of deal. And then here is the sloth habitat. I tried to make it really luscious, obviously keeping the original or all the enrichments and fittings in there for the sloth. Put the railings on. We have a nice little slothy there. So cute. And one chilling out in the chair. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. I need to do some population control in here. We've got quite a few sloths. Right, gotta do some control. And then, yeah, so they come through here. And then this takes our guests over to the reptile house, which is under construction. And then back through this area, this hides that little staff. I'm going to make this a cute little pond area. And then we've got some toilets, a nice little toilets built into the ruins here, right? So this is kind of built in, makeshift into this little ruins that bring you back over to your cafe. You hanging on? This is just going to be an intro tour video of what I have so far. I'm hoping I can learn how to do maybe speed builds and show you guys how I build all of this and get tips and tricks and learn together. Yeah. So anyways, so let's take a look, see at what we've toured thus far, right? So we know the entrance, the waterfall. We've seen the sloth house and the cafe, the ugly staff areas, and orangutan island. So before we tour the to be continued area. Let's take a look at the rest of the mostly finished areas. So here we go with the Lar Gibbon Islands. So just kind of like a high overview. They have 2 islands that attach by this little bracketation pole. I know in reality the Lar Gibbon could just drop down here. They haven't done that yet. When I go to their traversable area and check out their traversable area for that Lar Gibbon, they can't get over there. They can't drop down. It's not traversable for them, and I haven't seen any of them drop to get out. They just go right on over their happy merry way. That's kind of something that maybe not be so realistic. I don't want to go hyper realistic in this zoo. Maybe one day, right, when I get the idea about how to do that. Like there's not a lot of backstage areas in this zoo. And so yeah, maybe one day I'll get to that level, but I haven't quite yet. So again, let's continue on with the tour of the Lar Gibbons. So here we have the kind of walkover area for the guests. These fences are made by Adam Up. Shout out to him on the Steam Workshop. I just recolored them. Got another sitting area here. Kind of hide the staff walk in again with the staff having a little bridge over to get to the Lar Gibbons. We have another habitat board here. I want to redo these donation barrels. Shout out to Tecton Zoo. Again, ZSH plays or Zed plays, however he says it. Forgive me. He had really awesome colored. I need to just recolor these. I need to do a better job of coloring these. So here's our first island. This is where we keep all of the main food enrichments because this is the only island that the keepers can access via that bridge. I used the bracketation little blueprint provided by Planet Workshop with lots of enrichment back here for them, as well as a water feeder and a little temple for the little sleeping gibbons. And they can go up and over this beautiful bracketation as you saw from the heat map, but not down. And this kind of goes around. There's another educational board here, and this path weaves all the way around. This is, again, built by Adam Up. His Lar Gibbon habitat has this in it. I stole it out of the blueprint that he put up on the Steam Workshop and recolored the whole thing and stuck in that tree and redid some vines to create kind of more area for them within there to make a really cool little... In my mind, they would climb all over it, right? But obviously they can't do that in Planet Zoo. But they can climb all over the vines in there. And then this river just kind of goes around both. And the path can weave around. This is going to continue on to show more primate islands around there. And then the guests can come out here and another educational boards. And this loops around to Simang Island, the Simang Dome. Very closed in because they're good swimmers and climbers and they could get out. I would potentially like to make another viewing area that kind of steps up over this river and remove some of these mesh, replace them with glass to allow a little bit of a better view for guests into there. So let me know any ideas you have on that front and what that would look like to you. So here's Simang Island. There's a little bit of a weird staff path right now. I need to do some work here and see what's up. It's kind of due to the way that the path had to go up to allow me to kind of create this waterfall area that leads into this river over here and really creates this flow of the river all around the primate islands. So we're going to hide this with foliage and make this nice and covered for everybody to not really look at. And so that path leads all the way back up to the beginning, right? And then our entrance and our Simang Primate Islands pathway over here. This is our staff entrance. They can come right into the Simang Island. As you see, they have been here. And we've done some fancy footwork here to make sure that these guys have all the climbing they need kind of all over this dome. They have a little platform. They have that bracketation. They really like it in here. I really like the way it turned out. kind of climbing everywhere, and lots of enrichment in here and things for them to do and forage, right? So it's really nice. I like that a lot. So that is currently all of the completed areas. Right now we have Primate Islands completed, and we have the Sloth house completed with some staff room, sort of done. I thought about turning this under area into a restaurant and moving the staff area to minimize the impact to be able to run it a little bit more like you would in franchise mode. Let me know your thoughts. We'll see what we need to do. Yeah, that's about my exhibits. That's fine. So speaking of exhibits, let's take a look at the under construction area of the zoo. So this is a pretty big zoo map. As you'll see, I've got from there to kind of fill in and do as I please. So my idea is I'd like to kind of morph this into a mountain range that's kind of running this waterfall. I kind of quickly put together with the aquatic pack waterfalls. I'll obviously cover that up with some terrain and make it look good. It goes off that way. And then it feeds down here. And we're going to make another waterfall coming out of here. And then it goes down into this river that feeds over into the other side of this reptile and amphibians house. So we're going to go look in that next and then wrap this first video up. Let me know your thoughts. And so this river comes in and it gives an underwater viewing for the Asian water monitor, the gharial, and the Cuvier's dwarf caiman habitats that they can see. So there's going to be a double-sided. The path is going to come around over a bridge and allow guests in here with some areas for the gators back there and the reptiles in there, and some swimming area up here with some like chain link separations to kind of keep them in their habitats. And so I built that viewing area last night, which is why all of these are not hooked up to a work zone yet or a keeper for all of my exhibits that I laid. But let's take a look using the Archer from the workshop to get some measurements right and see what this is going to look like. So obviously this is already spectacular. I just need to do some morphing to remove the water, do some morphing to the terrain, and kind of create a more naturalistic river look. And then the guests are going to be able to come up here and hopefully see the 3 different species along this wall swimming. So we'll see how that works. We'll see how that goes. Don't know how it's going to work the best, but we'll see. And so then the guests can come back up here. Let me use the camera right. And this is the build I did last night and is still in progress. This is the reptile amphibians area, the reptile amphibians house. And I've been working on making this look kind of more like a temple-y with some of the building pieces and some of the other pieces to kind of really get this temple feel. And then inside here we're going to have lots of exhibits. We've got the boa constrictor over here. I'm going to do some finagling to make these look a little bit more built in, and then more than just what given in here, move some foliage into there, do some work and make them look, a little bit better. We have 2 exhibits lined up here, 1 and 1. And I'm going to try to make them look like one big exhibit. I saw that again on ZSH Plays, Zed Plays. I saw him do that and I really liked it. And I'm going to see if I can maybe replicate it. We'll see. And then here is the tree frog. And then over here we're going to have the golden poison frog. I just wanted to get some good ones out of the shop. And then here we have the Goliath frog. And then again, that will walk right out to the viewing area. So one last thing that I would like to let you all know is that there's a lot planned for this zoo. I would like to do a Rainforest river walk that kind of leads back here with all kinds of animals on it. The things that are planned for that river walk are going to be a jaguar, a pygmy hippo, a giant otter, the barrarusa, the pig, the capybara. I'd also like to do a lemur land, which potentially guests could go in, which houses all 3 lemurs. I'd like to do the proboscis, capuchin, and mandrill included on the primate islands in this kind of U shape here. Give them each their own little island. I also would like to do a forest excursion kind of somewhere in this area, which includes possibly a 4x4 ride with a clouded leopard, anteater, the tapir species, both of them, the okapi, the southern cassowary, and the bingturon. In the amphibian and reptile house over here, I'd like to do a habitat for the Asian water monitor, the garvial, and the Cuvier's dwarf caiman. Words, what are they? And then I'd also like to do an insects of the forest habitat with a giant centipede, a pink tarantula, the wandering spider, the giant forest scorpion, the giant leaf ant insect, Goliath beetle, Goliath bird eater, and the Titan beetle, kind of somewhere in this back area here. So lots planned for this zoo. So happy I got this amazing, wonderful map with the rivers really in it. I like to replicate that up here on this landscape. So tell me what you think. Tell me about your ideas. Tell me your tricks and tips and tricks. Tell me, what do you love about Planet Zoo? What should a girl do to get better? And again, thank you for joining my channel. I hope to learn how to do speed builds in the future to show y'all some of my build process, and let me know how I did. Let me know any tips or tricks, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in, and bye from Kate Place.